Fish Report. For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the Fish Report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull. When you tune in to the Fish Report, hanging at the Fish Report, hanging at the Fish Report. You got Craig and TK and Heather D, tune in at the Fish Report.
Coming to you live from Studio F in Russia, Ohio. It's the Fish Report Live Show with your hosts, Craig Fissinger and Ken Francis.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Fish Report Live. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Craig Fissinger. That is Ken Francis. We're your host. Back in our sound room this morning, it's TK and Heavy D. We look forward to talking to them a little bit later in the program. And out in Studio R, it's Covey and Kearns. Always excited to talk to them. Ken, looks like you got your Made for More coffee cup. You ready to talk sports this morning?
I'm ready to go, Craig. Good Thursday morning to all of our viewers out there, Craig. It's hard to believe it is basketball season, but the way the weather feels out there, Craig, it feels like it's January and February. It's way too cold out there to only be November yet. But, you know, the girls tipped off last weekend. The Russia Raiders got off to a quick 2-0 start, Craig. That's great to see. Had Coach Timmerman on our show last week, and the boys are tipping it off this week, Craig. And we're going to be going out and talking to the new head coach of the Botkins boys basketball program, and that's Coach Sean Powell. Sean is in his first season at Botkins. He was a 4-year JV coach at Lima Perry. He was a 1,000-point scorer at Lima Shawnee, Craig. He's going to bring a lot of energy to that very, very young and talented Botkins basketball program. Really looking forward to talking to Sean here in just a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk boys basketball as well. Ken actually got the opportunity on Tuesday night after that Russia Jackson Center girls game to talk to Bryant Billing, the sports editor over there at the Sydney Daily News. Said he watched Botkins scrimmage a couple weeks ago and said they're a very dynamic team, like to get up and down the floor. I know we hear that phrase a lot, but he said they're going to be fun to watch. And so I'm looking forward to talking to Coach Powell and talking boys basketball after our break.
Absolutely, Craig. And he's going to have his hands full right out of the gate, Craig, taking on one of the league favorites this year. I'm not saying they're the league favorite, but one of them, Indiana Rockets, Craig, going over there to Indiana. I'm sure he knows a lot about that team over there already, so it'll be fun to hear what he has to say about that.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we still have one more week of football to talk about, and that's because it's state finals weekend. And for that, we're going to go out to Studio R, check in with Covey and Kearns. And guys, just one local team left playing in this area. And if you're a fan of high school football in Ohio, it's no surprise who that team is.
No surprise, it's the Marion Local Flyers. Got a big game with Kirtland. They play either Friday or Saturday. I can't really remember, but I know it's a 10 a.m. kickoff. Kirtland, as you remember, they played last year, beat them in the state finals, lost to them in the state finals in 2015. This Kirtland team is the Marion Local of Northeast Ohio out of Cuyahoga County. The school's based up around by the Cleveland Clinic. I talked to a Marion person that I know, and they said that Kirtland may actually be favored in this. I don't know if they're just blowing smoke, but we'll see. It should be a great game. Key to the game, I think it's going to be Marion to get their ball out to their athletes, Nolan Habidos, Nick Tangeman, let that crushing defense that Coach Goodwin always brings to the table, and our passing game is just going to be a big key. I'm not going to make a prediction on this game because I know so little about Kirtland. I feel kind of unprepared to really make a prediction. It seems like such a close game, but let's hope the Flyers pull this one out.
Yeah, both of these teams, I mean, they're the two powerhouses. Your obvious, probably your two, this is your true state championship. I mean, your two best teams in D6 overall. Kirtland has 6 all-Ohio players on their team, so they're obviously skilled. They've been the state champion the 7 of the last 8 years, and they lost to Marion last year, so they're on a revenge tour, just like Michigan was last week. That didn't work out for them. And I think, honestly, these two teams going head-to-head, I want to give Marion the benefit of the doubt, but as you can see, Kirtland's ranked number 1, but those rankings, I mean, they're kind of meshed, obviously, from just not that great of detail for these guys to rank them at. So it's probably going to be a shootout, but I think I'll give it to Marion just from last year beating them and having that confidence walking in, and just Marion being that powerhouse they've been for how many years.
Yeah, we want to give a shout-out before we kind of wrap up our football season to a couple area teams. You know, the 2 Shelby County Athletic League schools that have football teams in Anna and Fort Laramie both won their conference this year, which is impressive. Laramie, of course, winning the cross-county conference, going undefeated and making their first ever appearance in the state. They lost to Macomb 28-14, ran into a bit of a buzzsaw there by the name by a player of a name Tanner Schroeder, who did it all on both sides of the ball, was the quarterback, played well on the defensive side of the ball as a defensive back. And congratulations to Spencer Wells in his first season, and Anna as well. They made the playoffs, clinched a share of the MAC title with the Marion Local Flyers, beat Coldwater, beat St. Henry, lost in the first round of the playoffs to Elyria Catholic, had the Division V Offensive Player of the Year, Riley Hulskamp. They get him back next year. Anna should be a very exciting team to watch.
I'll agree with you on both those teams. I'm going to kind of eat my words. Both of these teams I didn't expect winning their conference, and let alone Lormy making it to state. I just didn't think Lormy had that kind of talent with them, but they proved me wrong, obviously. The way they played this year was phenomenal, especially in the playoffs. And Anna as well, being in that tough league, the MAC. I mean, what they lost last year, they had a lot of skill positions, and they filled it really well, and they came back strong and won the league. And that's just really impressive and puts a lot of respect on their name. So those two had phenomenal seasons, and looking for them to come back next year even better.
Well, I think that's great stuff back there, guys. Kobe, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're good. Now I'm just really excited to get to my favorite part of the year is in basketball season now. You know, the NBA has been going on while college basketball. I got my chance to see the Russia girls play Friday against Sydney, and I got a chance to go over to Anna and Botkins, call that game for NK Telco last night. I think the favorite here is Laramie to win the league for the second year in a row, and the 3 in the last 4 years. A lot of returning core players. We know what Coach Stiegel is going to bring to the table here. They got an a County Player of the Year candidate by the name of Marissa Meyering over there. She injured her knee a couple years ago, played really well her sophomore season. Great supporting cast around her. Taylor Rodman, Kennedy Gephardt, Mackenzie Holscher. They play Russia this Saturday. Should be a great game. Let's see if Larissa Polling's at 100% health. The Raiders of Russia got off to a fantastic start, 2-0 without Larissa Polling. Jenna Cardano really carrying in that team. Andy Timmerman here is one of the best coaches in the area. Not trying to be biased here, but he does a fantastic job with that Lady Raiders team without Larissa Polling. Should be a league favorite to get, and they should get in that district, if not a regional berth. And watched Anna last night. They got a County Player of the Year candidate by the name of Ella Dosek and Bria Cook. Coach Mauer's team looked very good last night, won 40-28 over the Trojans of Botkins.
Yeah, Anna impressed me last year, just like you said, those two names, they'll be key players for them. But back to the Russia-Lormy game, I think it's very important for Larissa to get back as soon as she can, because Jenna is doing a phenomenal job with her Raiders being the senior leader out there, but to take the pressure off of her for the scoring ability, Jenna's been the leading scorer the last 2 nights. I think she had, maybe 17 in the third quarter on Friday night against the Yellow Jackets. She's contributing great on offense and defense, but to get Larissa in there, it'll get her more shots, and it'll just make the defense have to guard more than just Jenna, because Jenna's taking a lot of the offense for them. So it's really important for her to get back Saturday to give them a shot at knocking off Lormy and taking the league into even just a blowout for who will win it. I mean, if Lormy gets an early loss and Russia stays undefeated, maybe who knows what will happen. I think it'll be a run out between Anna, Fort Laramie, and Russia for the title. Yeah,
I think Botkins can really be a dark horse. They had the game tied at halftime last night. They lost Sarah Bergman, who scored over 1,000 points, County Player of the Year last year. Paige Lane scored 830 points in her career at Botkins. And first-year coach Phil Groves had a really nice game plan in the first half. They got out in the passing lanes, forced, I think, 10 Anna turnovers in the first half. They got 3 Greavies, Tara, Janelle, and Jill Greavy, but they also got 2 freshmen by the name of Boston Paul and Carmen Huker. They were 2 very talented freshmen. They struggled offensively in the second half, and that's what I really expected out of Botkins, losing Lane, losing Bergman. How are they going to respond offensively? The first half looked good. That inexperience set in the second half. But no doubt, this Botkins team is a real dark horse, and they got a really good student section as well, cheering during the whole game there for Botkins.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on Botkins. They're definitely going to be a dark horse, and maybe an on-the-road game or someone traveling to Botkins. I mean, no one really likes to travel that far, especially in the middle of the week. So they could potentially knock off somebody and maybe put their name up there at the top. And like you said, Sarah Bergman, she was a phenomenal player for them, 1,000-point scorer, but it's going to take a lot to fill in her position offensively and defensively.
All right, guys, great stuff there, and thanks for all that. A great way to start girls basketball coverage. We'll talk about boys a little bit later. And Ken, they were mentioning some names that you mentioned last week when they mentioned Ella Dosek over there at Anna. She had 21 points in their opener against New Bremen. Of course, Marissa Meyering over there at Fort Laramie. They played down that event at Lakota West High School, the Journey to the Tourney. I know she was the MVP of Game 2 over there. And they mentioned Larissa Polling over there at Russia. One thing about Larissa, I spoke to her mom on Tuesday night a little bit, talking about the possibility of her playing on Saturday. One thing I mentioned to her, I did feel like there was a little bit of a silver lining in this for Russia, and that is the fact that you have girls like Katie Hewing, who's playing varsity for the first, a senior playing varsity for the first season ever, stepping up, scoring 8 points in that game on Tuesday night against Jackson. You had girls like Caitlin Mon, just a sophomore, stepping up. Girls that have to score because Larissa's not there, and hopefully that'll pay dividends for the Raiders down the road.
I agree, Craig. I was really impressed, like you said, with Caitlin Mon and Hewing. They're both played very well, and of course Jenna Canania, like Covey and Kern said there just a few minutes ago. Two phenomenal games, and for Coach Timmerman and his team to get off to a 2-0 start without Larissa Poling is just phenomenal. I don't think, if I'm Coach Timmerman, I tried to rush Poling back for Saturday's game. I know the chances of you beating Fort Laramie without Larissa Poling drop considerably, but I think you're taking the risk of possibly losing her for more games or even maybe the majority of the season if she would happen to tweak it again. So, I think you take your time. You got a really, really good player right there. I think you bring her back when she's ready, not because you're playing Fort Laramie on a Saturday afternoon in a big game.
Well, I don't know if she's going to play on Saturday or not, but I know one thing. If it's up to her, she's going to play. If it's up to her doctor, she's not going to play.
Yeah, I can believe that.
We'll see what's going to happen there. Well, we're going to take a short break, but stay right there. When we come back, we're going to talk some more basketball, including boys basketball, and that big interview with Botkins coach Sean Powell.
My father said it's time to be home man, but don't go and tall in the motherland. You were born with heart, raised on pride. This is gonna go wrong through your bloodline. Oh, 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 bloody bruised and slain. Oh, 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 pride in this name. Well, the skies run deep within this blue. False use devised by foolish views. Religious divide among the may create civil war on my family land. Oh, 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 bloody and bruised and slain. Oh, 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 pride in this name.
And welcome back to the second half of Fish Report Live. Before the break, we were talking some girls basketball. Going to change gears now and talk a little boys basketball. And Ken, last week on this show, I know you talked about some of the girls' top returnees and the SCAL coming back. Let's do the same thing with the boys this week. And who do you see as some of the top returnees coming back on the boys' side?
Absolutely, Craig. And there's a whole bunch of them, And I'll start off with the Anna Rockets, Craig. They've got three really nice players coming back in Griffin Dosek, Bart Bixler, and Riley Hillscamp. Botkins got a couple, they had Zane Paul, like we mentioned earlier, Spencer Huker. The Piper twins over there at Farallon are coming back. Houston's got Howie Ludwig. Trent Platfoot, I think, is a great player over there at Jackson Center. Not on the list there is the other guy from Jackson Center there. He's a sophomore, super sophomore. I forget what his name is. I'm sorry about that. Anyways, and from Roosh, you got Kearns and York. But, Craig, when I look at that list, I see Nick Brandaway from Fort Laramie, great player last year. I think he was one of the unsung heroes on that terrific Fort Laramie team last year. I really like the way he runs the floor and controls the game. So great talent in the Shelby County League, Craig. I think Anna, Roosh, Fort Laramie, Jackson, everybody, Botkins. It's going to be a very well-balanced league this year. Really looking forward to it.
Well, you mentioned a couple Trojans there in Huker and Paul, and of course they got the more exciting things than that happening this year, Ken, and that's because our next guest is getting set to make his coaching debut with the Botkins varsity boys basketball program. He is a former 1,000-point scorer, as you said at the top of the show, back at Shawnee High School. He played some college basketball at both Wabash Valley and Henry Ford. He's coached high school basketball as both a varsity assistant and a JV coach, most recently the last 4 years at Lima Perry. We welcome to the show now Sean Powell. Coach, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, listen, congrats on the new job. Over the summer, Coach, I talked to a few Botkins basketball fans, and there's a lot of excitement about you taking over this program this season. I want to ask you what led to your interest in Botkins, and have you had an opportunity to meet many folks in the community yet?
We just finished up our first fundraiser. I'd estimate it was probably 400 people there. I was able to shake a lot of hands and introduce myself. And besides that, a lot of parents so far, they've been helping out ever since I started. So, yeah, the community, they've been great. I couldn't ask any much more of them.
Well, I know over there at Lima Perry, you come from the Northwest Central Conference up there. Now you're coming down to the Shelby County Athletic League. Coach, do you anticipate any changes in style of play from the NWCC to the SCAL?
Well, not really. The NWCC, another league with a lot of talent, a lot of great coaches there. I've always knew that the SCAL had some good players, great coaches. I'm looking forward to seeing what our style would do in this conference. Our players, they're picking up on it pretty well. So as far as adjustments, I wouldn't say too much as far as adjustments. We're just going to try to impose our will on other teams.
Coach, hi, Ken Francis here. I want to thank you for getting up early Thursday morning here and joining us on the show. But let's talk about your personnel. And when you talk personnel, typically you want to lead with your seniors and your senior leadership. Tell us what you have over there at Botkins as far as senior leadership goes and what you expect their roles to be on this year's team.
I have 3 seniors this year, 2 in which are returning from last year, Spencer Huker and Josh Madden. Bryce Metz is one of them. He missed last year due to an injury. He's 100% now, though, so he's ready to go. My seniors have been great. They're doing a great job. It started all the way back in April with the weight room and conditioning. I can't ask too much more of them. They're my vocal and energy leader, and so far they've been mature. I'd also throw Elliot Goubeau in that mix. He's just a junior, but this kid, he's everything you can ask out of a senior.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about some of your other personnel. I saw your team play twice last year against our Russia Raiders, and as I watched you guys on the court last year, I thought, boy, this is a very young and talented Botkins team. Tell our viewers out there this morning who some of the young underclassmen are that we can expect to see some time on the court for you this year.
Yeah, my sophomore class, it's a strong class. It's leading off with my floor general, Sean Powell. This would be his second year at the point guard position. I also have Tyler Free and Connor Smuck, all returning lettermans from last year. Denton Holman will see some significant time at the 5 position. My son transferred over, Jaden, from Perry last year. He lettered as well. And then I have 2 freshmen that may see some varsity minutes, Jacob Plyman and Jaden Wendell as well.
Well, listen, Coach, sounds like you got a pretty talented roster there. Let's talk a little bit about your game Friday night. Again, not real familiar with how much you know about the Shelby County League, but when you go into Anna and play, it's one of the toughest places in the league to play. They've got, first of all, they got a lot of talent. They're extremely fast. They got ultra quick guards, and they've got a great cheering section, and they got a rocket that stands in the corner of the floor, and he guards your player while he's ready to shoot. So you got to keep an eye on the rocket as well. What are you telling your kids as they prepare for that game Friday night?
honestly, so far, the season's so early, we're still trying to figure out who we are. We're trying to nail our defense, get our offense in. So right now is more about ourselves than Anna. But I am aware of how good they are, how good they've been in the past. I was able to scout them a couple times last year and the year before that. So, yeah, we understand this would be a tall task going over there, being the first game. It would be a league game for us. But I think my boys are ready.
Coach, you know, we recently wrapped up our fall sports coverage, and a couple weeks ago, one of the guests on our show was actually Fort Laramie football coach Spencer Wells, who came down from Delphus, had some immediate success at Fort Laramie. They made it to state, and when we talked to him, we asked him, you know, how he did it, and one thing he said, he credited a lot of his success to his assistant coaches. I know Ken just asked you about your players, but who are your assistant coaches, and what role will they play for you this season?
Brad Bergman is my assistant. He's a Botkins graduate. He coached some high school ball in North Carolina, I believe, before he came back to Botkins. He's a basketball guy, played basketball all his life, continued playing in college. Great guy to have around. He's helped me with the on-the-court, off-the-court stuff since it's my first job. Couldn't ask much more out of Brad. As far as my JV coach, Andrew Davis, this is his first year. Andrew is an analytics guy. If it has anything to do with numbers, he knows. But he's doing a great job with his JV team. They're a young bunch, but every time I look over and see him coaching his team, he always has energy. His guys are loud over there. So I believe I'll see some good things out of him this year.
And, Coach, I wanted to mention, I was on Twitter earlier this week, and I saw a picture of, it looked like some of your players helping out some of the youth there in Botkins. Did you have a camp going on this week? Is that what that was all about?
Honestly, I'm not sure. The young kids are in the gym just as much as the high school kids are. Our youth program is very strong. It's led by 5 or 6 individuals, young men in the Botkins area. I was amazed at the program itself. To have guys in the gym working with the youth like that, teaching them fundamentals, jump stop, closeouts, defensive slides, how to shoot. I'm very impressed in it, and I know that I'll have some good things coming down the pipeline. As far as that picture, though, I believe that was Saturday. We had Youth League on Saturday, and that was my varsity working with the young boys.
Okay. Well, listen, Coach, I got one more question before we let you go. But you know, Botkins traditionally closes their regular season with a team you're very familiar with, Lima Perry. And I know this is 2.5 months away already, but it kind of reminds me of, you know what it reminds me of? I'm a big Cleveland Browns fan, and we recently let our coach go, Hugh Jackson. Of course, he goes to our rival down there in Cincinnati, to the Bengals, and got a chance to go to that game on Sunday and really had a ball. But I'm comparing this situation to your situation. Is Lima Perry afraid you're going to share any secrets with your new program?
Well, first off, don't compare that because he lost. He lost that game.
True,
so,
that's true.
I wouldn't want to compare that, but actually, we run some of the same stuff that I ran at Perry with Coach Tabler, and then some of the stuff we don't. So the stuff that we do, we call it the same. We have the same language as what Coach Tabler would call it. So that game will be interesting. I don't think either coach needs to do any scouting to prepare for that game. But it would be fun just to go back and see the Perry community and get the coach on that floor again.
Well, Coach, listen, from Fish Report here, we appreciate you joining us this morning. Welcome to the Shelby County League. It's a great basketball league, as you very well know. It's very competitive, and we'll look forward to when you come over to take on our Russia Raiders here. 5-time defending Shelby County League champion. I might throw that out there, Anxious. So we play a little ball over here, too, and I'm sure the Trojans will be hyped up and ready for the Raiders, and looking forward to seeing your team play this year.
All right. Thank you. Go Trojans.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, and that was the new head coach of the Botkins Trojans, Sean Powell. Yeah, we look forward to having him come to Russia, and should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. No, Craig, I think he's going to bring a lot of excitement to the Botkins program. I mean, you know, they got some great young talent. I saw their junior high teams play last year. Very talented, like he said. You know, they got a couple freshmen that played varsity last year. They're definitely a team that's going to be worthwhile watching here as they get better this year and into the next couple years.
All right, and let's get back to the sound room, Ken. Talk to the boys here this morning, see what they're up to. And guys, that was a fun interview with Coach Powell. I know you're excited about both girls and boys basketball, and I know you're at the games and got kids playing, and it's a lot of fun coming up here these next 2.5, 3 months.
Yeah, I think he'll bring a lot of interesting energy to the Shelby County League, or the SCAL.
Yeah.
As we are now known.
SCAL.
I didn't know we were the SCAL, but maybe we are. That might just stick. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be fun. A new coach with a lot of energy and a young team that a lot of people have been talking about anyways, and now more to talk about. So that'll be fun. Another interesting twist to the SCAL this year. And
Sound like the G-Walk and the MEAC and some of them.
I've heard it referred to as a SCAL a few times. Well, TK, I know we always look forward to your SCAL Player of the Week. What do you got for us this week?
This week, a name, of course, that's come up a couple times as we talked about girls basketball earlier. And I have to go with our local senior off-guard, Jenna Cordonier. As we mentioned, playing 2 games this week without the other senior star in Larissa Pulling. So a lot of pressure could have been on her, and she came up with 2 big games, one against City and 23 points and 14 points the other night against Jackson Center. So she gets the star of the week. From the Fish Report this week.
Good
choice.
choice.
That's the third time she's got it. She's got basketball once. TK gave it to her, and volleyball once. And if you remember our very first episode of the fall, Ross was back there. He gave it to her as well. So
oh, really?
She's going to run out of room on that shelf in her bedroom for all those Fish Report Player of the Week trophies.
Yes.
All right, Heavy D, what do you got in the mailbag this week?
Yeah, let me tell you. Well, first of all, congrats to Kobe on his NK Telco debut. You know, we're really proud of that young guy, and he's moving on to bigger and better things. Hopefully he hangs around with us for a while. But this question comes from Jay Schultze up in Fort Laramie. And Jay writes, a question for my favorite uncle-in-law.
Is that what you are?
Yes. Saw him at Thanksgiving. Jay writes, Dear Heavy, please tell me, if you could have a do-over in your life, what would it be?
So, a do-over.
A do-over, and you know that I had to think about that.
Well, you can make a long list there, Heavy D.
I was thinking volleyball when the up judge does this.
Yeah,
same thing.
Do-over. So you know what? I grew up in Russia. Married my high school sweetheart. I've got 4 great kids. Mom and Dad took me on a lot of vacations. Been to about every Civil War site in North America. Went to University of Dayton. Got a great job at Honda. Worked with TK there. I don't have a lot of complaints. No regrets. To the point where I went out and got a tattoo this weekend. And, it still stings a little bit, but there it is. Got her polished up there, so no regrets. So, Jay, I'm going to tell you what. You've married a nice girl, and a couple words of advice for you. I know you travel a lot around on the road. Don't eat a lot of fast food. Eat your vegetables. Keep exercising. Say your prayers, and, things will work out for you.
Can you put that tattoo back up there again? I think they had a spelling error there, didn't they?
Oh, shoot. Are you kidding me?
Well, I didn't catch that.
You didn't catch
I didn't catch that.
Oh, boy.
But Heavy D.
Yeah,
maybe your first do-over.
Yeah, though. So really, that might be the first do-over. Yeah, really no regrets, Jay. So I lived a good life and hope to live a long one.
You just need a better tattoo artist that knows how to spell.
Could be.
Oh, Heavy D.
So you got to keep the questions coming, guys. Ask Heavy D at fishreportonline.com, and I'll do my best to answer them.
All right. Good stuff, guys.
Great stuff, guys. Thanks for that, as always. All right, Ken, well, that's going to wrap it up for us. Another fun morning on FRL.
Yes, it was. Time to go to work.
That's right. I want to say special thanks to our guest, Sean Powell, for joining us this morning. Ken and I and the crew will all be back again next week, same time, same place. Until then, have a great rest of the week, and thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Hanging at the fishing pond, Fish Report. For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the Fish Report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull when you tune in to the Fish Report.